Use headphones for the best experience. Part 1. The Heretic's Hope. Idol. Emperor's Doubter. The air inside the Chimera transport was thick with the smell of sweat, oil, and fear. It rattled and groaned as it lurched over the blasted, ash-strewn landscape of Agrellan Prime. Brother Marius of the Blood Angels clenched his power fist, the ceramite plates of his armor digging into his skin. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple, despite the chill air filtering through the vents. Approaching Drop Zone Alpha, the pilot's voice crackled over the Vox. Prepare for disembarkation. Marius exchanged a nervous glance with his squadmates. Brother Raphael, the youngest of the group, was muttering a prayer to Sanguinius under his breath. The others, veterans of countless battles, wore masks of grim determination. They had been deployed to this forsaken world to quell a heretical uprising, cancer that threatened to spread through the Imperium. The Chimera shuddered to a halt, its ramp lowering with a hiss. Marius led his squad out into the open, his bolter held at the ready. The air was heavy with the taint of the warp, a tangible miasma that twisted and writhed like a living thing. Form up, Marius barked, his voice echoing in the eerie silence. Stay alert, the enemy could be anywhere. The Blood Angels advanced cautiously, their boots crunching on the ashen ground. They moved as a single unit, their senses heightened, their weapons primed. Suddenly, a chilling scream pierced the air, followed by a hail of last fire. A squad of heretic Astartes, their armor defiled with blasphemous sigils, burst from cover, their bolters spitting death. Marius dove for cover, his bolter blazing. He unleashed a torrent of fire, his rounds tearing through the heretics' ranks. But the enemy was well entrenched, their fire disciplined and deadly. Battle raged, a whirlwind of blood and fury. Blood Angels, their gene-forged reflexes honed by millennia of warfare, fought with the righteous fury of angels. But the heretics, fueled by their twisted faith, were equally relentless. As the fighting intensified, Marius found himself locked in a duel with a heretic champion, a hulking figure clad in ornate power armor. Their blades clashed, sparks flying as they traded blows. The heretic was strong, his attacks swift and brutal. Marius parried desperately, his own strikes lacking their usual power. Doubts crept into his mind, doubts about the Emperor, about Sanguinius, about his own faith. He faltered, and the heretic's blade found its mark. A searing pain exploded in Marius's chest as the power sword pierced his armor. He staggered back, blood gushing from the wound. The heretic loomed over him, its eyes burning with fanatical glee. The Emperor is a false god, it hissed. Sanguinius is a traitor. Embrace the truth of chaos. Marius, his vision blurring, raised his bolter. His finger tightened on the trigger, a single thought echoing in his mind. For Sanguinius. He fired. Part 2. The Heretic's Whisper. The bolt tore through the heretic champion's skull, splattering gore across Marius's visor. Hulking figure crumpled, lifeless eyes staring blankly at the sky. Marius, his strength fading, sank to his knees, the pain in his chest a searing agony. His squadmates rallied around him, their bolters barking defiance at the remaining heretic. Brother Raphael, his face pale with shock, knelt beside Marius, hands glowing with the Emperor's light. Brother Marius, hold on. Raphael's voice was thick with emotion. I'll get you out of here. Marius coughed, a bloody splatter staining his gauntlets. No time, he rasped. The mission must be completed. Raphael looked up, his eyes filled with a newfound determination. We'll finish this together, brother, he vowed. For Sanguinius. The Blood Angels, their ranks thinned but their resolve unbroken, pressed forward, their bolters roaring. Heretics, their morale shattered by the death of their champion, broke and fled, disappearing into the swirling, warp-tainted mists. Marius, his vision swimming, allowed himself to be dragged to safety by his brothers. As the pain receded, chilling realization washed over him. The heretic's words had planted a seed of doubt in his mind, a seed that threatened to grow into something monstrous. He had always been a devout follower of Sanguinius, his faith unwavering, but the heretic's words had struck a chord, a deep-seated fear. Perhaps the Emperor was not the benevolent savior he had always believed him to be. As the Blood Angels made their way back to their base, Marius wrestled with these doubts. He replayed the heretic's words in his mind, searching for any grain of truth. He questioned his own sanity, wondering if the warp's influence had tainted his thoughts. In the quiet of his quarters, Marius sought solace in prayer. He knelt before a statue of Sanguinius, his hands clasped tightly together. He pleaded for guidance, for strength, clarity. But the doubt lingered, a gnawing presence in his soul. He felt a growing disconnect from his brothers, a sense of isolation that he had never experienced before. One evening, as he sat alone in his quarters, he heard a voice. It was soft, almost a whisper, but it cut through the silence like a knife. "Brother Marius," the voice said, its tone laced with seductive promises. "You are not alone in your doubts. There are others who question the Emperor's divinity." Marius looked around, his heart pounding in his chest. He saw no one. The voice continued to speak. "Join us, Brother Marius," whispered. "Embrace the truth of chaos. It is the only path to true power." Marius hesitated, the voice tugging at his weakened resolve. He knew it was a trap, a temptation sent by the ruinous powers. But the allure of power, of knowledge, of understanding the universe's true nature, was too great. He rose to his feet, a newfound determination in his eyes. He would seek out the source of the voice. He would uncover the truth, even if it meant risking his soul. Part 3. Path of Shadows. Driven by a desperate hunger for answers, Marius began to act in secret. He sought out ancient texts and forbidden lore, delving into the murky depths of the Blood Angel's history. He spent hours in meditation, his mind adrift in the swirling currents of the warp, seeking communion with the entities that whispered promises of enlightenment. His behavior did not go unnoticed. Brother Raphael, his closest friend and confidant, grew increasingly concerned. He sensed a change in Marius, a darkness that had not been there before. "Brother Marius," Raphael said one day, his voice filled with worry, "you have been distant lately. Is something troubling you?" Marius hesitated, unsure how to respond. He knew that he couldn't share his doubts with Raphael, not yet. "It is nothing, brother," he lied. "Just the burdens of war." Raphael didn't believe him, but he respected Marius's privacy. He watched his friend with growing unease, fearing that he was slipping down a dangerous path. Marius's quest for knowledge led him to a hidden chamber, deep within the Blood Angel's fortress monastery. There, he discovered a cache of ancient relics, artifacts from the dark days of the Horus heresy. Among them was a tarnished silver locket, its surface etched with a cryptic symbol. As Marius touched the locket, a surge of power coursed through him. He saw visions of the past, of the Primarch Sanguinius battling the traitorous War Master Horus. He saw the moment of betrayal, the moment when Sanguinius fell, his noble blood staining the ground. The visions faded, leaving Marius breathless and shaken. He knew then that the locket was a relic of chaos, conduit to the warp's corrupting influence. But instead of recoiling in horror, he felt a strange sense of peace, of understanding. Clutched the locket tightly, its power seeping into his soul. He had found what he was looking for, the answer to his doubt. But it was not the answer he had expected. He returned to his quarters, a newfound purpose burning in his eyes. He would no longer serve the Emperor, the false god who had betrayed his beloved Sanguinius. He would embrace the power of chaos, true power of the universe. He gathered his belongings, few meager possessions and the forbidden relics he had discovered. He left a note for Raphael, explaining his decision. He knew it would break his friend's heart, but he had no choice. He had to follow his own path, even if it led him into darkness. Under the cover of night, Marius slipped away from the fortress monastery. He vanished into the warp-tainted wilderness, heart filled with a mixture of dread and anticipation. He was a blood angel no more. He was a servant of chaos, a heretic in the eyes of the Imperium. But he was finally free. Part 4. The Emperor's Judgment. Weeks turned into months as Marius wandered the desolate wasteland of Agrellan Prime. He embraced the teachings of chaos, his mind opening to the raw power of the warp. The silver locket, his constant companion, whispered secrets of forbidden knowledge, twisting his perceptions and fueling his growing thirst for power. His armor, once pristine, became tarnished and scarred. His once noble features grew gaunt and hollow, his eyes burning with an unholy light. He became a shadow of his former self, twisted reflection of the blood angel he once was. But even as he delved deeper into the abyss, a flicker of doubt remained. The teachings of Sanguinius, ingrained in his soul since childhood, fought against the seductive whispers of chaos. He questioned his choices, his path, his very existence. One night, as he huddled in a cave seeking shelter from a warp storm, he heard a familiar voice. It was Raphael, his friend, his brother. Marius. Raphael's voice echoed through the cave, filled with sorrow and anger. What have you become? Marius emerged from the shadows, his face a mask of defiance. I have found the truth, brother, he snarled. The Emperor is a lie. Chaos is the only true power. Raphael shook his head, his eyes filled with pity. You have been deceived, Marius. The warp has poisoned your mind. Silence, Marius roared, his voice echoing with the power of the warp. You are blind to the truth. Join me, brother. Embrace the power of chaos. Raphael drew his blade, its edge gleaming in the dim light. Never, he said, his voice resolute. I will not allow you to fall further into darkness. The two brothers clashed, their blades singing a deadly duet. They fought with the skill and ferocity of angels, their every strike fueled by love and hate, loyalty and betrayal. The battle raged for hours, the cave echoing with the sounds of their struggle. In the end, it was Raphael who emerged victorious, his blade piercing Marius's heart. As Marius lay dying, his vision fading, he saw a figure standing over him. It was Sanguinius, his primarch, his savior. Marius, Sanguinius said, his voice filled with sorrow and compassion. You have strayed from the path, but it is not too late to return. Marius reached out, his hand trembling. Forgive me, my lord, he whispered. I have sinned. Sanguinius placed a hand on Marius's shoulder, a warmth spreading through his body. There is always hope for redemption, my son, he said, even in the darkest of times. With a final gasp, Marius breathed his last. His body, racked with pain and corruption, dissolved into dust, leaving only the tarnished silver locket behind. Raphael picked up the locket, his heart heavy with grief. He had lost a brother, a friend to the insidious lure of chaos. But he had also witnessed the power of redemption, the unwavering love of Sanguinius. He vowed to honor Marius's memory by continuing the fight against chaos, by upholding the ideals of the Blood Angels. He would not allow his brother's sacrifice to be in vain. As he left the cave, the first rays of dawn pierced the darkness. A new day had begun, a day filled with hope and the promise of a brighter future. The Emperor's light would continue to shine, even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more.